The commercial surrogacy industry brings in over $4 billion a year. Yet, no one knows exactly how many babies are changing hands around the world. The industry is outlawed in much of Asia and Europe, but not here, in war-torn Ukraine.
A basement serving as a bomb shelter nursery for 21 surrogate babies.
I was shocked to discover that Ukraine is one of the world's top destinations for commercial surrogacy, and that many of these infants trapped by war are American babies. This story sent me on a journey to expose the dark side of this global market, where surrogates are being imprisoned, raped, and even left to die, manipulated by shadowy players who profit from the wounds of vulnerable women.
They are very desperate girls. I lure them into a more lucrative shortcut to make money, to corrupt their minds.
So I just got word that there was a baby who was born today in Ukraine, a surrogate baby. Project Dynamo is there trying to get this baby, rescue it, and bring it to safety.
Okay, Dynamo!
Project Dynamo is a US-based organization that has been operating in this war zone.
You probably hear the air raid sirens because they're bombing on the other side of the city.
Their mission? To rescue trapped civilians, including surrogates and newborns. Mariana Van Zeller,
Where go? Go to Ukraine?
Yes, Lviv.
Okay.
Medica is the busiest border crossing between Poland and Ukraine.
This is the border you could walk across. So this is on the target list. The Russians really want to bomb right here. They don't because they're afraid of NATO.
Thank you.
But at some point, there's going to be some Russian artillery guy, and he's going to push a button, and one day, they're going to hit a border.
Once I'm through, I finally meet my contact, Brian Stern, the co-founder of Project Dynamo. It is crazy to me what you're doing here. I mean, you're an American citizen, right? Former Navy, and you find yourself in Ukraine rescuing surrogate families and babies.
We've been doing operations pretty much every day since February 24th, since the day of the war.
Brian is uniquely qualified for this work. He's a combat veteran and a former Navy intelligence officer.
Everyone's boarding the buses. We're bringing people across the border. People need help, and being able to do rescue operations in weird places with Russian bad guys everywhere and artillery and missiles, being able to do that is a skill, and we're very good at this.
Since Project Dynamo's arrival in Ukraine, they've rescued thousands of people, including 68 surrogate-born babies.
First one that we did was premature twin boys. They were on ventilators and feeding tubes and incubators and the whole bit. As we picked them up, we were taking artillery fire from the Russians at both hospitals. It was early days in the war.
Did you think when you started this that the surrogacy industry would be so big and that you'd have to be a part of so many rescues?
Honestly, I didn't really know anything about surrogacy when I came here.
Neither did I. Before I set off into Ukraine, I tracked down a Ukrainian surrogate named Olya, who sought refuge in Poland. Was it your decision to move, or were you asked to move because you were carrying this baby?
Второе. It's the second option, because she was asked to, yes. Mm-hmm. Biological parents who really insisted that they have to be moved.
Olya is 4 months pregnant. She's carrying a child for a couple from Seattle who turned to surrogacy after 9 miscarriages. Because Olya signed a contract, she's not entirely in control of her body, and this reproductive arrangement is far as $30,000.
Поток, который может одинокая девушка заработать за год.
When Olya delivers this baby, she'll be paid $24,000. That's 6 times her annual salary. A life-changing sum for her. But I discovered that Olya must give birth in Ukraine. She can't stay in Poland.
In a lot of countries, surrogacy is against the law. So if a surrogate gives birth in Poland, because they don't recognize surrogacy, that baby belongs to her.
If Olya then tries to give the baby to its American parents, she could be charged with child trafficking, and the baby becomes a ward of the Polish state. So as crazy as it seems and it sounds, the only way for them to actually give birth to these surrogate babies is being here in a war zone in Ukraine. That's why Brian and I are at the border, waiting for an American couple that has traveled 6,000 miles from their home in San Francisco to rescue their newborn son, Vincent, who was born to a Ukrainian surrogate last night, inside a war zone.
People get killed out here every single day. I mean, this just happens. They're not safe until they're safe.
Brian and his team quickly move us to an undisclosed safe house outside Ukraine's westernmost city, Lviv, where I finally get an opportunity to speak with baby Vincent's parents. Did you guys always want to have kids? Was that always the plan?
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. You know, I mean, obviously there's the family element that are like, Gio, it's your turn, you know, everyone's getting to have families now, what's going on, you know, and that's kind of the Asian family thing, I guess.
It's a Portuguese family thing,
Yeah,
too.
Portuguese too, right? But in our hearts, too, we both wanted children.
Gio and Candace have known each other since childhood. But it wasn't until their early 30s that they reconnected, fell in love, and got married. When Candace was diagnosed with uterine cancer, the couple turned to surrogacy to start their family. It was too expensive in the US, so they traveled to Ukraine for the procedure and were told to return in about 9 months. But then, the Russians attacked.
It was scary. It's definitely scary.
Right.
With their baby in harm's way, they knew they had no choice but to come rescue him.
We wanted to nurture someone. From the moment he was a little peanut, and we couldn't get him off our mind. The whole concept. You know?
It is the best thing in the world.
Amen. Thank you.
But rescuing Vincent isn't guaranteed.
There is no embassy to call. That's not here. If things go wrong, it's our problem to deal with. So we are very much on our own. We're rolling to get baby Vincent. So the surrogate needs to be put on ice for a little bit, and we'll be baby on board maybe an hour.
Less than 24 hours ago, baby Vincent was born. Now, Brian Stern and his medical team are on an urgent mission to get him out of the war-torn country.
I'm always kind of nervous because things go wrong. Things just happen.
The plan is for Brian to pick up Vincent from the hospital, then deliver him to his parents, who are heading towards a safer meeting point outside the city.
No, I don't really take a deep breath until I get them out of Ukraine as soon as we can. All right, rock and roll.
У мене залишилася в цьому маска. Добрий день. Скажіть, будь ласка, ми за дитинкою сурогатної мами.
А от якраз гарно. Без користування. Їхня?
Oh man, hold on. She's telling us now that the baby must be given to our hands only.
The hospital refuses to release the baby to anyone other than his biological parents. But for Brian and the Project Dynamo team, that's not the only hurdle they face in getting Vincent out of the country.
So the problem is that the passports say one thing and the marriage certificate says something else, correct? I understand. Their paperwork is up. And it'll be Candace's maiden name, probably, if I had to guess. and therefore they're not sure if they can issue a birth certificate in the right names. This whole thing is a mess.
These roadblocks exist for good reason. Ukraine produces some 2,000 surrogate births each year. It's critical that they make sure these babies don't get misplaced, or worse, trafficked. Project Dynamo is fighting the good fight, helping to unite desperate families. But the chaos of war could have a profound effect, pushing the surrogacy market into less regulated countries.
There's been a storm of controversy over the Indian government's move to restrict child surrogacy. It considers it a rent-a-womb industry that exploits impoverished young women.
India was once the top destination for commercial surrogacy, before the country banned it in 2015, when it discovered women were being abused and exploited, and an untold number of babies were sold onto the black market.